The Irish Hospice Foundation, IHF, is a national charity dedicated to all matters relating to dying, death and bereavement in Ireland. In this video we meet 4 people who are going to tell us about their experiences of loss and how they have learned to live with them. The 4 people we are going to meet are Antoinette, Mary-Alys, Kate and Mary. The first person we're going to meet is Antoinette, whose husband Paidraic died of cancer.
He started to get pains in his side, and we went to the doctors, and of course, you know, I was kind of saying, Lord Jesus, will he ever stop giving out and whinging and all this? But anyway, in further investigation, it was cancer. He had his biopsy done on the 28th of October 2009, and he died on June the 11th, 2010. Then in the last month he got very sick, so I just took it off work, thank God I could, and we were at home and he just went down very quick, kind of. He died at home.
The next person we meet is Mary, whose husband died by suicide.
All I can say is that it was so overwhelming, the bereavement and the death and all that went with it. My life and my family's life was shattered. It was like going into a brick wall and the wall falling down on top of you, and the more you tried to get out, the more things fell on top of you.
Now we meet Kate, whose son Kicran died from cancer.
It was 2 days before his 5th birthday. We got a phone call at 5:30 to say the bone marrow count is 88. And we knew if it dropped below 90 that that was it. And there was no going back, that he had one chance. They knew from day one that he only had the one chance of transplant, and like in other conditions he might have an opportunity for a second go, but there was no fallback treatment, and that if it came back, that it would come back quickly, and that there was no recovery. So we were just straight into palliative from that stage.
Finally, we meet Mary-Alys, whose husband Dermot died after a long illness.
My husband died in 2001, but he'd been ill for a very long time before that. He was tremendously brave and a very, very agreeable person. In the last 2 years then he was in and out of hospital quite a bit, and eventually, that was it, he died.
When he died, it was just so unreal. I couldn't believe that he was gone. I couldn't get it into my head that he wasn't going to come in the door or to sit in the chair or, geez, even getting milk. Kind of, what I found most amazing was when I used to get up in the morning, if I made a cup of tea or anything like that, when I go out, I come back and that cup would be in the exact same position. Now, it took me a long time to get that into my head, that there was no one there.
Just the utter sadness, and your whole life falls apart. There was nothing in my life remained the same, only my work. I had to move house. My children came with me, but our family was all split up. It was just devastating. I had support from my family, great support from my mother and my sisters and my father. But 6 months later, my mother died then, and so I had to nearly back to square one. But I was lucky enough to have 2 great sisters who stepped in there and supported me.
I just wasn't ready at all. I don't think anybody is. I don't think no matter how long you're waiting for it to happen, when it happens, it's just devastating. I couldn't think, I couldn't sleep, I couldn't remember anything. I thought it was going off my head. It was scary. I just found it very hard.
I suppose it was just the fact that there was just the 2 of us. Do you know what I mean? There was no one else. And then he's gone, and that's a whole half your life gone, just gone. You find then if anything good happens to you feel sad immediately because he's not there. If anything bad happens to you, you feel a bit worse because he's not there. Do you know that kind of way?
But we could never foresee anything like this happening. Mm-hmm. It was out of the blue, and it was his choice. It was the way he was dealing with things.
People are big into this you know, oh, you're young. People just said to me, oh, you're young, you know, you'll meet someone else. Like, I know they've very good intentions and everything like that, but if people only realise by saying things like that, like, you know, Jesus, if I wanted to meet someone else, I would have left Paidraic, you know, the year before he died. Do you know, that kind of way? Do you know what I mean? Like, people think that just because he died then, that you're ready to kind of to jump into the next part, whatever they deem the next part of your life is. I don't know. That I found, and I still do to this day, I find that annoying. I suppose now it's annoying. In the beginning, I used to be like horrified, like thinking, Jesus Christ, he's only dead kind of a year, and all you hear is, you'll be grand now, you'll meet someone. But do you know what I mean? But that now is the hardest.
My choices were limited, and I was quite angry with that. So I had to go through all the anger part, the sadness. It was just everything in life was changed, and none of it was my choice.
It's just a huge void, and nobody can ever prepare you for it. Or, like, I'm talking now, but if it happens to someone else, it's going to be probably completely different for them. You know, it's just kind of life changing, of course, and that's it. Like,
I suppose some of the things that I found hard too, being out, that, you know, like that, doing things like shopping and doing, you know, messages, was when you'd see somebody and they'd walk across the street, you know, and they'd avoid you, and you just think, oh, you know, you just get so mad.
People thought they could look into your life and comment on it, and give their opinion, whether it was whatever it might be, and that you were to accept that. I think that might have been the hardest part. I'm not going to be the woman whose husband committed suicide. That's not who I wanted to be. I wanted to be Mary. Mm-hmm. But that took a long time, because I even thought myself as that person. Mm-hmm. Throwing myself into doing everything but thinking. And I did that for about a year and a half, I think. After that, of course, you have to deal with it. So slowly I started to deal with it. Now, in between, I was getting a little bit of help. I was lucky enough that the job I'm in, they were great support, and my supervisor, and they would just drop everything and say, Mary, have a cup of coffee, take me out of the situation for a little while, or say, you can go home at any time. And I think because they said, go home at any time, I never had to go home at any time.
Actually, what I did, and I'm not sure it was a great idea or not, when people asked me, I said yes. If they asked me somewhere, I said yes. So I went everywhere people asked me. And I joined things people said come. And I did all kinds of things like that.
Allowing myself to feel the feelings, tackling even things in his, you know, sitting in his room, you know, dealing with his toys and his clothes and all of those things which were hugely painful. But sort of sitting with that and allowing that pain and not putting it off.
I was very fortunate in that my sister-in-law stayed with me for a while, and she was lovely, really helpful. And because you can't think, you can't even begin to think of eating, or, you know, and you can't sleep, and everything is just thrown into a mess. And then I had a friend who had gone through the same thing, and she was great for saying, well, you know, you do change, it will change, and it won't be like this all the time. So that was encouraging.
Just to be able to talk things through, just to be able to put them out there and say, look at them.
We had a lot of laughs in the group, I thought, which sounds kind of a bit mad at a bereavement group, I suppose, really. But it was just like, oh, I don't know. I think it was just everyone just sharing their experiences. And everyone's experience was so different. It really was. Like, it's like people grieve in different ways, but that group definitely helped me to understand that there's no right way and there's no wrong way. See, sometimes when you're on your own, you might begin to feel like, do you know, maybe I should be doing this. Like, I'm not a very good graveyard person. I just amn't, do you know what I mean? And there's one of the ladies in the group, and she was. But by going to the group, I realised that she was right and I was right. She wasn't wrong and I wasn't wrong. Do you know that kind of way like that? People do things different ways, and it's okay to do things different ways, I suppose.
Somebody told me there was a group called Bethany, and maybe I could go and get a bit of help there, the people who listen to what you're talking. you have to talk about it a lot. Well, I did anyway, and I think most people do. You need to talk and talk and talk about it, and not everybody wants to hear it, because a lot of people want to be nice to you, and they think you're suffering because you're talking, but actually you're getting through it when you're talking. They think you're suffering because you're crying, but actually crying is your way out of it.
The group was the first place I actually experienced that you had no baggage. Your baggage was left at the door. It didn't matter what you said. You know, you could come out with the most outlandish thing in the group and nobody would be like judging you, or you felt you could actually speak just totally open in the group.
I did an awful lot of writing as well, and that I found hugely beneficial on sort of two levels, I suppose. One, I think in the early days, you know, and that being maybe even the first year, 2 years, your thoughts are such a jumble. I found it really, really difficult to concentrate. So, you know, you had all this stuff going around in your head, but you couldn't make sense of it all. So in writing it down, well, I was still writing it down as a jumble, but when you read it back, you could rejig the words, if you like, and start to make sense of it. So I found that really, really helpful.
I think I generate an awful lot more now for myself of things I do and things I think of doing. And I've developed a lot of other sides of me, in a sense. Like, I'd never written anything before he died. And I've written loads of stuff now.
I've learned maybe to not get upset like I used to. Like, there was a time when Paidraic's name was mentioned and there'd be tears in my eyes. It's not that I've learned, I don't get upset. I suppose maybe I accept 2 years down the road, maybe, have I accepted Paidraic's death? Accepted it, I don't know. I learned to live with it. I don't know, but I don't kind of be as upset now as I was in the beginning. Do you know, I find it like, but I do love talking about him. Do you know what I mean? And like, he was such a big part of my life. Even the pub where I work, he was a big customer there for quite some time before I even got there myself. So he still talked about in the pub and everything. Do you know what I mean? So, like, you know, everywhere I go, Paidraic is part of me. Do you know? And that's just the way it's always going to be, I think.
I needed to let it out, and I needed to be. That's how I need it to be.
I don't know that you can give advice to somebody that's bereaved. I think you can just support them and hold them, as it were, and while they work through it. I think maybe you can say, this won't last forever. You will feel differently. Things do get better. It takes time, but they do get better. They do change, and you'll feel differently. You won't always be stuck in this terrible black hole.
I became very proud of myself for surviving it, I think, and I didn't realise that I was well able to pay the bills. I was well able to look after my children. I was well able to work. So I was proud of myself.
While grief can be a difficult experience, please know that there is support available. If you've been affected by anything you've seen in this video, you can contact the following organisations for support.